Branden Waltz here in Charleston, South Carolina at Elite Pro Detailing. You started this a year ago and you're doing about how much in revenue this month for April?
This month we'll do just shy of 110,000.
Just shy of 110,000 for a business you started, what, 14, 15 months ago?
Yeah.
Now, we'll get into the full story later because you had some previous detailing businesses in the past, but we'll start with what brought me here in the first place. So you and I linked up from Wade last summer because I had been kind of in a slum with my business as far as systems and automations were concerned. And my biggest focus over the last year was exactly on that, with systems, automations, and so forth, so that I could take some time to step away from the operations day to day in the business and focus on my coaching program. But now we've really been ramping up the detailing side of things for myself back in Austin. So we're here for an entire weekend, literally shadowing exactly what you do on the day to day. This morning, I saw you close, like 10 grand in details. And then we're meeting tomorrow with a dealership to close 15K a month in MRR.
Yep.
So take me back just a little bit. How did those first couple of detailing businesses go? Why did they fail? And what brought us to Elite Pro today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first detailing business I launched, I was actually working in a body shop, working like $15 an hour, and was like washing cars and started to get really, really good at it. So I started kind of doing stuff on the side on the weekends, friends, family, and just really found a passion for it. So then from there, I just kind of started to grow from there, word of mouth. Decided I could make more money on the weekend detailing cars than I could all week at the body shop. So then from there, I started Coastal Clear Detailing, which is my first detailing business.
Here in Charleston as well, yeah?
Yeah, that was here in Charleston. Yep. And I just had basically out of the back of my Tahoe, I was just detailing out of the back of my Tahoe, then upgraded to a truck and trailer and had like water, had power, all that good stuff. And it just kind of like, I didn't have any systems. I didn't have any processes. I was kind of really bootstrapping the whole thing. I didn't have a booking software. I didn't have a payment software. I was literally Venmo, cash, check. I didn't even have a separate bank account for the business. Like we were just kind of like bootstrapping it. I brought on someone at the time to come work with me, which was a friend from high school, and things were going like really, really well, right? We were doing probably 15K a month, but like grinding so hard, stressing so hard. I had no marketing, I had no automations, no systems, no processes or anything. And it was just literally just word of mouth. And we got up to 15 grand a month. And then I was kind of like, very overwhelmed by all the stress, very overwhelmed by like constantly struggling to get jobs, and literally barely making ends meet, like booking the job the next day, the day before. And I was just kind of like, so tired of doing the labor intensive stuff, so tired of doing the grinding. So then from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to get into real estate, personal development, build my sales and communication skills, and learn how to actually build a business and actually become a really, really, really solid salesperson, which I think sales is the driver of everything in business, right? So I did that for a year, crushed it in real estate. And in the first 4 months of real estate, I went all in and I hired on another guy. So I had two guys. Biggest month we ever had was 22,000 in August of 23.
So at this point, you're diving into real estate and you also had detailing going on the side.
Yep.
So you dipping in both. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. So biggest month we had was 22,000 August of 23. And then from there, I lost one of the biggest contracts I've had. It was a $1 million a year contract that I had in the works with a boat manufacturer here in Charleston. They produce about 120 boats a year, and we were going to be detailing them, ceramic coating, and all that stuff. And because I was just so overwhelmed, I was trying to basically multitask a bunch of different stuff, and detailing was kind of on the back burner. I lost that contract, which then kind of just put me in a slump with the full detailing business. And then I was like, okay, I'm having to manage my real estate business and text clients in between every single job. Hey, the technician's there. Can you unlock the car? Can you do this? Can you do that? There was no like software like we have now to where the tech can message the client through the app. So I was just so overwhelmed and I just kind of like let it fizzle out. There was no crash and burn. We didn't lose a ton of money. It just kind of fizzled out. October of 2023 was like basically whenever my guys kind of quit because work was super inconsistent. They weren't really making money. And then there I was like, okay, like, all right, whatever. I'm crushing real estate. I just kept going in real estate. And real estate's a very grinder mode, right? If you're not cold calling or you're not constantly doing the same exact thing, right? Trying to get that next deal, you're not making money, right? And I like the fact of creating something that can actually run while you're away. And I was just like brainstorming, going to masterminds, getting introduced to all these guys. That was the first time I'd ever gotten introduced to masterminding. And I was like, you can pay someone to coach you and be your mentor and tell you every bottleneck and every problem that you're going to have ahead of time before you even experience it. So my mind was literally baffled and like an explosion in my brain that I'd never seen before. So then from there, I was like, okay, cool. Like now I'm learning the fundamentals of how to build a business, of how to lead people, of how to be a true leader and build a true business with systems, processes, marketing, sales. And so I was like, okay, December of 2024. So I did a full year in real estate. I made 175 grand my first year in real estate,
Okay.
which was great. But like that for me was like the amount of time that I put in, 15 hours every day from literally 7 a.m. to the office to 8 p.m. like every night. And then it didn't stop there, right? Then you're going through lead sheets trying to figure out which deal's ready to pop next. December of 2024, I was like, okay, I'm starting another DCM business. And I'm going to scale it and I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to do it with the right people, the right systems, the right processes. February was the soft launch. We did 7 grand first month. And then in March, we implemented all the marketing. We implemented all the ad sets and everything. We did 24,000 our first month with 1 employee and 1 van.
Okay.
And I was fully removed from detailing.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think impressed me the most today, being the first day that I'm full in here in Charleston, hands-on with you, is the fact that you have delegated things to such an excellent level, whereas most people are full in all those systems because you came from a background of, what, $175,000 per year in real estate, but you're working 15 hours a day. Everybody thinks, yo, that's almost $200K per year. That's a lot of money. But when you actually start to break that down into how much you're worth per hour, you're really not making that much money. And look, $175,000 per year is not going to completely change your life. You can't retire your parents from that. You can't buy your dream car with that unless your dream car is like something super basic. So you really went all in on systemizing and building things out, which is what I've been working on over the last year. But this morning, I remember we're sitting on a sales team meeting with you, and you chat with your VA for probably 30 minutes, get on with your sales guy for 15 minutes. In that 45-minute span of time, you had your sales guy ready to go to crush 10K in sales for the day. You had your VA ready to go to start working on some of the program content that we're building behind the scenes for my students in a 45-minute time frame. That is something that would have taken you if you had built out all those course modules yourself, ripped all those sales calls all week yourself. That probably would have been about 60 hours worth of work, 100%. Because your VA works full time, 40 hours a week. You pay him $12 an hour for all of that online stuff, works overseas. And then your sales guy gets paid commission, and he's probably taken 20, 25 hours a week versus sales calls. So obviously that's why we're here. And one of the things that I wanted to dive into, the purpose of this conversation for those watching is not just to interview Branden. It's really to mastermind and form an understanding of what makes the detailing business grow, but also go into a lot of the topics that I think are extremely interested, which is what we got connected on in the first place, which was personal development. So tell the story of how we initially met, how you initially found my content. You were telling me last night when we crashed at your apartment. How did you find my content? What were your thoughts back in April, May of last year?
So, I mean, I just remember you like popping off my feed, and I'm just like, I'm like, who is this guy, right? And like my initial reaction was just like, I don't like this guy, right? My initial reaction is like, I don't like this guy, and for no reason at all, right? We automatically as humans just come to this conclusion: we don't like somebody, we don't know the story, we don't know the situation, we don't know true behind the scenes of who somebody is. We just see kind of like that first clip, right? So from there, I'm immediately like trying to figure out like about you. I'm like looking into your stuff, like, yeah, I don't like this guy, X, Y, and Z. And then, like you said, diving into personal development, I met with Wade, and then Wade said that he knew you, right? You had jumped on a call with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, I don't like that guy. I'm like, immediately, like, yo, I don't like this guy. Like, tell me what I have to do to beat this guy, right? Like, why is he getting more views than me? Why is he getting more followers than me? Why are these things, right? Of things that, honestly, at the end of the day, don't really matter, right? Because, I mean, they do matter, but then at the end of the day, like, for me, it's always just, like, who you are personally is what matters most, right? And so I started having the conversation with Wade, and he's like, dude, like, he's a good dude. Like, you guys should connect. And right off the rip, I'm like, nah, like, I don't like this guy. Like, whatever. For whatever reason, whatever misconception or notion of value or whatever perspective I had. And then we got to connect, and I was like, bro, like, I fuck with this dude, And because we were aligned in so many different areas of life and have the same trajectory of doing everything morally and ethically correctly, right? That's how we want to make money. We want to make a lot of money, but like no scam, no scheme, nothing. So that's how, my initial thought of you, and then that's how I got connected.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the biggest premises of personal development that I've learned over the last year, specifically with Wade, is seeking to understand each individual before making any judgments. This is going to be beneficial for business relationships, but also with employees, right? If you can seek to understand somebody's personal, professional, and financial goals, you can properly incentivize them in such a way that's going to make them want to get after it. Because I found some employees, if you really understand them at the core, Some of them are going to be more motivated by money. Great. There's your overtime, your bonus structure. Those things are going to push them to grow as an individual and grow your company for you. Some people are going to be motivated by, I want time off to spend with my family. I want to go hang out with my girlfriend this weekend, whatever the case may be. And I've had employees in the past that I thought would be incentivized by money because that's my incentive structure as an entrepreneur. I end up pushing them overtime. They quit or get burnt out because I didn't first understand them. And I think that also correlates in as far as finding business relationships are concerned. I have always been of the opinion that if you can find people who are ahead of the curve, farther along than you, it's going to be much better to collaborate instead of compete, even if it comes at a slight disadvantage short-term for your own personal gain. So my detailing company is the only company that I own 100% of. For the time being. I might be looking to get investors and that sort of thing. All of the other companies that I run, the other things that make up my income, my coaching company, my marketing company, those I have partners in. And what we're starting to work on now, we're partnering together. The reason why I've always thought that that is the way to go is because some people are going to be further along in the journey than you. They're going to boost you much quicker, whether you're paying for mentorship one-on-one, you're signing some level of like temporary or long-term contract, you're going to be able to get much farther in a shorter period of time, even if you don't keep 100% of the profit. Because ultimately, understanding the longevity of your business model is going to be one of the most important things for you. So you're in this competition mindset. My biggest premise over the last year has been collaboration instead of competition, because it's going to be much easier to create with others that are already farther along on their journey than you than it is to try to compete with them. Okay. My detailing business is the only company that I run out of my 3 right now, about to sign a 4th. What we're working on behind the scenes, which we'll talk about a little bit on this podcast. But the 3 companies that I run right now, the only one I own 100% of is my detailing business. The other 2 companies, my coaching company, my marketing company, I have business partners in. So I believe in 2 different ethos. One is paying for mentorship, somebody that's farther ahead than you in a specific area. And I just signed up for a $12,000 program to help optimize my sleep and understand, like literally running my blood work to understand what time of the day I'm going to perform at my absolute best, so I can focus on getting better, more productive, deep work, free up more time to spend time with family, rest, recuperate, and so forth, but still get more done. So even in things that are not necessarily tied to a financial gain of somebody coaching on the business side, I pay people to help me with, my health and my wellness, my fitness, etc. Understanding that there are people that are farther along than you, that you can pay for mentorship, pay for coaching, they'll help get you there. And the other side of that is, can you partner with people, sacrifice some level of short-term profit for yourself for a longer term return? Because a lot of people are finding it easy in this new money ecosystem to pop up out of nowhere and generate loads of cash. Whether it's in the detailing business, bro, you can rip $500, $800, $1,000 ceramic coatings, rip those all day, every day, run some ads, $30, $40 a day on Facebook, fulfill it yourself. You can make 20, 30 grand in a month as a solo detailer. But what is the longevity of your business model? Somebody like myself as well, who got into coaching, consulting, running a marketing agency, and so forth, it's very easy to ramp up an information-based product and make a ridiculous amount of money. But what is the long-term potential of that business? I mean, we've seen people come and go from this industry that pop up out of nowhere. They got a course to sell. They got a marketing agency. Instagram is flooded with ads running to all these offers all the time, but then you see them phase out after 6 months. My approach has always been different. It's what is going to be the long-term potential of my companies. And a large part of that comes with finding the right business relationships and partnerships that only are going to flourish if you view it as a marriage. And what is a marriage? A marriage is understanding that 2 people are going to come together not for selfish benefit, but to selflessly serve one another and build something collectively over time. You don't succeed in a marriage. You actually get divorced if you go into it just by yourself, wanting something positive for you. This person's going to help me with this. They're going to be amazing. This person's super attractive. They're funny. I laugh. I have fun when I'm around them, or they can help me with their finances, or, whatever the case may be. They come from a rich family, whatever. You're going to find that that ends in divorce because you're seeking selfish gain initially. What's going to succeed in long-term marriage, and this is not coming from somebody who's married or has expertise on marriage, but just the understanding of what that kind of spiritual partnership that God designed is for, is to selflessly serve one another so you can collectively form something long-term. I view business the exact same way. Who can I partner with that I can serve? They can provide equal value, and sometimes the value is going to be slightly misaligned. There's times that I put in 80% of effort with my 50-50 business partner. There's other times where he puts in 80% and we're still 50-50. But ultimately, that's going to equate to 100% every single time. And yes, there's going to be moments where you're frustrated, you're burnt out, you feel like you're not making as much money as you feel like you should for your effort. But longer term, if you're aligned with the right kind of people, you're going to find that that flourishes across time. My coaching business, we scaled to almost 160 mobile detailers that we've consulted over $100,000 per year, and we've only had that company for 14 months. We've hosted 3 mastermind events so far within the last 8 months, and we have students that are now performing over $50,000 per month that literally started their detailing business from scratch within our ecosystem. And I don't keep 100% of profit from that. But I also wouldn't be in the situation that I'm at right now, making the impact that I'm able to make without my business partner, George, who you met when we had our event together in Miami in January. So understanding who can I align myself with that's going to allow me to flourish long-term? How can I selflessly sacrifice some of my own short-term wants for longevity? Because you need to, one, seek to serve others and provide value to others because you get paid in proportion to what? The value you provide to others. And I'll share the story later, but I was on the plane flight yesterday coming here, and I got paid $2,000 for consulting for the lady in first class next to me. She paid me on the flight. And I think I told you some of that earlier, but that was a ridiculous story. I just show up, we start talking, she's fascinated by me. She pays me $2,000 for a consulting session while we're on the plane. This is a billionaire. She runs a $1 billion wine company, frustrated with her, executive team there. And she thought I was fascinating, asked, what are you doing in first class? You're 18 years old. What the hell's going on? Tell me about yourself. 3-hour flight later, we do some consulting. She sends me a wire right there. Why? Because you get paid in proportion to the value that you provide to others. So understanding that you first have to seek to provide value when you enter into a business partnership. It's not about what can I get. It's what can I give. And ultimately, across time, you're going to receive in direct proportion to that which you put in, the law of sowing and reaping. But beyond that, it's also, there is some selfish benefit because how bad would it be to make 50 grand a month in your business and then in 3 years, you're toast? And you spent all of that money on lifestyle and so forth, flashy, whatever, not managing your money well. You don't have the right people in place. You burn all of your bridges because it's all about me. Now you're broke. Doesn't matter that you lived 3 years dream lifestyle. You're broke. You have no longevity and you completely ruined your reputation. And your reputation is going to ultimately be the thing that sustains you across time. Because even if your business goes under, you're making $50K per month, business goes under, but you've saved your reputation, you've saved face with those around you, you can start another. You can work with the same people that helped get you there in the first place. So understanding how can we find these business relationships that are going to catapult us into success, whether it's paying somebody just for some initial consulting or, something like a business partnership like we've developed. Like I own a marketing company. I only own 25% of that. I don't need to own 100% of that because I don't want 100% of the operational load. And I also know that long-term, I want people in my court that are going to play ball with me. And you and I are masterminding here together in Charleston to create a secondary offering for the guys that I've already worked with and scaled up to get them from mobile into shops. I'm not going to make a lot of money upfront from that partnership, but I don't care because it's about what? It's about the impact and it's about the longevity of this business because I'm in this industry to stay. And I can say for everybody watching this, so is Branden. This is the realest dog I have ever met in the detailing game, okay? I have seen so many people, like I was saying earlier, come and go, and they have all of this wishy-washiness, and they maybe pop up, do extremely well for a short period of time, and then they start selling a course, do very well for a period of time, and then they just lose trust and credibility. But everything that you have told me over the last 8 months of us knowing each other virtually is freaking happening right here. I see you making it happen. You said a month ago, dog, I'm getting into PPF. Oh, great. I show up. You guys have 2 PPF cars right here. You got one, the Lexus had a full-body PPF?
Yeah.
Full body PPF, how much do you charge for that?
$6,500.
$6,500. And then what else do you have? Do you have a front or do you have a full body as well, secondary car here?
We had the truck that was full front. That was $2,400.
$2,400.
Yeah. And then, we have like eight cars in the shop right now. They're
8 cars in the shop right now.
Ceramic and PPF.
Others have PPF as well?
No, not here right now.
Not right now.
We have a Porsche coming in tomorrow with full front PPF.
The 911?
Yeah.
Word. So yeah, we got 2 cars in this shop right here with PPF on them, about $9,000 worth of PPF. When this dude literally told me 30 days ago, yo, I'm getting into PPF. He makes it happen. And that's why we're here building this together because you know things that I don't. And we can collectively build something impactful for this industry that is going to, 1, sustain the industry, 2, sustain ourselves long term. And neither of us are interested in damaging our credibility. And I think it'd be absolutely fascinating to hear your journey of like, you thought, yo, I'm going to get into information. I'm going to start, helping and coaching people online. I'm going to do that by myself. I don't like this Hudson guy, but then you showed up to Miami, you met George and I, and you said, these guys are real, bro. Like you had the same sort of initial reaction to me that I had to you once we actually connected. Explain a little bit of your thought process going into that because you have definitely been on a journey of selflessness lately.
Yeah, absolutely. And first, if I want to tie into like, what you were saying about the collaboration, bro, it's like, would you rather have, like, I remember one of my mentors telling me, whenever I was in real estate, is he was like, do you want 100% of a grape or 50% of a watermelon?
100%.
Right? Because whenever I came into the real estate game, like, they take commissions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's like, I was like, I want 90-10 split, right? And he's like, you're getting 40-60. And I'm like, but bro, like, I want 90-10, right? And he's like, look, he's like, if you want to be here in this room, you want to get the most value, you want to get the most out of it, you can still make however much money you want on a 40%, 60% split. I got 40% and the broker got 60%. And I still made 176,000. I made way more than the people that were on the 80-20 split because he saw the potential in me. And he's like, bro, you have what it takes to be a killer. You see these other guys on the 80-20 split and they're making 60, 70 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, I want to pour into you. And for me to be able to pour into you all the time that I want to pour into you, like, you have to make the company money, right? So it's like, let's say 60% of $176,000. I mean, we're talking about, I paid basically $200,000 in commissions to my coach to coach me, but I got way more value out of it, right? Like that year, it was like 14 months that I was in real estate. Bro, I developed like 3 years of my life because it was 15 hours every day with someone just mashing into me, sales, communication, leadership, all of these things that were just constantly pumped into me. So I totally agree with you with like collaboration is so huge. And like you said with the business partner, right? Even if we're putting in 80% of the effort and the business partner's only putting in 20%, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. And if you have someone with leverage that already knows the information, you're able to get so much further, bro. And that just ties into kind of what you were talking about is before we got connected, I was already masterminding with my coach and I'm like, hey, bro, like, I've scaled this business and I'm, where a lot of people get where they get to 100K a month and then they're like, they just kind of kick back. They're like, whew, I made it here, right? Whereas me, I'm like, cool, like, check, next one. Like, where's 250?
250 a month.
Where's 500?
Yep.
Where's a million? Like, I'm not satisfied with 100 grand a month. I think it's cool that I hit that benchmark, but it's like, all right, cool. Like, where's the next step?
Right.
And that's where a lot of people get stuck at that $1 million a year, right? Because that's the American dream, is to have $1 million a year business. But for me, it's like, I know that, like, it's not even about the money for me. It's about the business that I can grow, the impact that I can have. But then also, too, like, as big as you can build a business, it's the person that can build that business.
Correct.
So I know that if I build a $100 million company, like, I'm going to be the best version of myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. And that's more than what I care about than any of the money. And of course, having the impact on people. Like, I had a guy come in, he was making $18 an hour flipping burgers. Now he's making $24 an hour or $25 an hour. Just bought his dream car, 2025. Brand new car right off the lot. He's never had enough money to be able to do that. He can afford his car payment. His quality of life is so much better. And we have a culture here built off of, like, basically like a brotherhood in a sense.
Bro, and I can
right?
absolutely see that.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the kind of leader that takes advantage of his people. When you do that, you might make more money short term, but you have absolutely no long-term stability. And once again, growing a company is about the value that you provide to others. You get paid in proportion to the value you provide. And that doesn't just come from that initial service. Hey, I'm going to provide you $1,000 worth of value. Give me $1,000. It also comes off of how much value and how much can I pour into these people that are helping build my dream? How can I also coach them to success? Because the way I view being a leader of a company is you're basically trying to identify their goals and helping to align your company with their goals, and you start mini coaching them. I started coaching my detailing employees after I learned how to coach other detailers. Now, I'm not coaching them on how to start a detailing business and grow it to $50,000 per month. I'm coaching them on how to be more efficient throughout the day, on how to have more fun at work, how to be more polite to customers, get higher tips, on how to get to higher end services so they can start getting paid on commission, on ceramics, and so forth.
But that's what it dials down to, is my mentor said, you can pay your people tangibly with money or tangibly and intangibly with value, right? And whenever people have both, they don't want to leave, right? Like, someone could come in and offer my guy a $30 an hour position, and he would literally give him the finger and be like, bro, I love it here, right? Because I give these guys so much intangible
My boss
value.
cares about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I care. And like, what company are you going to go to where your bosses sat you down and said, hey, let's lay out your 5-year roadmap. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? In the next year? What do you want to make? What do you want to make? What position do you want to be at? And what do you want your like personal life to look like? I don't need to know all the details about XYZ, but I want to know, like, do you want to take a vacation per year, right? Do you want to go on a cruise per year? Do you want to buy your own house? Like, I need to know those types of things, because once we know the equation, right? It's the same thing we do with our goals.
Yeah.
Once you have the equation of the goal, then you just figure out the puzzle pieces, and
Yep.
then you tell them the roles and responsibilities that they need to do, and the acts that they need to perform along the way, and the skills that they need to develop. And then there's no, hey, boss, can I have a raise, right? There's none of those weird conversations here, because we've structured it out in a way that's mutually beneficial for both of us. And dude, if you can scratch someone's back, they are by far going to scratch your back, right? Help somebody accomplish their goals, they'll go yards for you, bro. And that's what I've done. All of my guys, literally, like, we go to the extent for each other, and we help out as much as possible, and everybody wants to help everybody, because it's a collaborative environment. And diving back into collaborative, like what we were talking about, right, is before we got connected, I'm like, yo, like, I've scaled this. Like, other people need to see, like, how I've done this, because there are other people that are selling how to grow a business and stuff like that, but they're just like, push marketing, sell the job, do the work.
Yep.
Right? Versus there's no real structure. And I've learned a lot from Branden Dawson, from Wade Houston, from Eric Spofford, I mean, the list goes on and on of the amount of mentors that I've paid. I paid over like $250,000 in mentorship.
I haven't gone that far. That's kind of crazy, but
I've
done a handful. Yeah.
So I paid a lot of money in mentorship, but it's came back to me tenfold, right? And the person that I become, and the success that I've been able to fast track, right? Like, everybody thinks like, oh, dude, you just got lucky, right? You just hit a home run on scaling your business to over 100K a month in like 13 months. Really? Like, if we look back at the timeline of the last 24 months of all the money, all the hours, all the time that I put into cultivating myself, that's the work that nobody sees. They just see this short home run success that I've had over the last 13 months, not the last 36 to 24
Not
to
the
36
positioning
months.
led to it. Yeah, I think my favorite analogy for that is, I don't know if you know how bamboo grows, but it spends 7 years beneath the surface of the dirt before it ever pokes up. But within a very short timeline, you have a massive bamboo stalk as soon as it starts to poke through the surface. But none of what you see would be there without what? The 7 years prior.
Yep.
7 years prior. And that's the work that you put in. And I think developing yourself into the kind of entrepreneur that is going to reap the rewards needs to be the focus. And that's going to ultimately bring us back to, how do I serve people better? How do I make sure that I'm providing value to people on my team, to the people that are paying me money, whatever the service may be? That way, I can end up getting myself in a position where the rewards that I want are just due to me by universal law, because you will reap what you sow. We are young. We are outliers. You're 23. I'm 18, almost 19. And we've been in circles with 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids that are making a ridiculous amount of money. It's really not that hard to make a lot of money with a little bit of talent and a little bit of information in this ecosystem. But going back to longevity, are you cashing out for yourself now? Or are you saying, I'm going to put these things in place now and understand that what I want is already written into universal law? If I were to say, you know what, I'm going to push because I need to buy a Ferrari in 6 months. I might buy the Ferrari in 6 months on finance, and it gets repoed. And then now I can't make content with my Ferrari anymore because it gets repoed because I couldn't actually afford it. And I just pushed for me. But I understand that by 25, bro, I got 7 years. If I develop myself and my business into the kind of company that's going to bring that money in, that's going to, the kind of person that is going to be able to make those high level decisions that bring in those skills, that Ferrari is going to come to me anyways. Why? Because I have built the skills that are those of somebody that would be able to afford that car. I was having a conversation with my family the other day, actually, and my mentality has always been, I need this, I need that. I'm very goal-driven in materialistic ways. Now, I'm not the most materialistic person. I really enjoy family time and all those things, but there definitely is some element of, dude, I really want to go on the trips. I want to go to the fancy dinners. I want to drive the nicest cars. That is really fun to me. Not to impress others, but for me. And I was saying, man, I need a supercar. Need it. Which supercar do I want? I need it. I'm going to put that on my vision board. They said, please don't say you need a supercar. Please don't say it. Why? Well, because there's homeless people on the side of the street that if you said that to, that's a terrible thing to say. They need food. You don't need supercar. Okay? So I had to really search my soul and say, okay, why do I say that I need this thing? And I reframed it to, I need to develop the skills of somebody that can afford a supercar. That's what I need. Because if I can develop those skills, it is due to me by universal law. Now, I'm sure by the point that you develop yourself into that kind of entrepreneur, you're not going to be as motivated by the materialistic things. I can't tell you how many multimillionaires, people worth over $100 million that I know don't drive crazy cars. They live fairly modestly because what they're interested in is the game and impacting others. The woman that I was sitting on the plane with yesterday, that's the CEO of this billion-dollar wine company, we were talking about cars because she knew that I was, detailer, had a coaching company for detailers, very into the auto industry. And I said, what do you drive? And she's like, well, I've got a Volkswagen GTI Golf, fully loaded, which probably is like, what, $50,000? They start at like 30, go up to 50. And she's like, and I absolutely love it. And I'm like, oh, really? Do you have anything else fancy? She's like, well, I've got an older G-Wagon that I drive sometimes, but most of the time I just love the VW. I'll always drive a VW. I'm like, you can afford any car you want. Why? She's like, it doesn't matter to me. I have fun in that car, and I feel like I can go under the radar and enjoy my life to some degree outside of the money, because that's not what it's about. And when you find people that are extremely motivated just by the materialistic things, they're one, screwing people over. Their businesses don't have any long-term sustainability for themselves. And once again, if you destroy your reputation, that's going to be gone forever. Your businesses can fail, but if you destroy your reputation, it's going to be absolutely gone. So you're going to be in a situation where you actually end up with none of it anyway. That's why the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Seek first the virtues, the morals, the things that you can do for others, and the rewards will come to you. And if you don't mind, I want to listen a little bit more about your personal development journey, because we've been talking and getting to know one another on a more personal level over the past couple of weeks before I came out here. And you have a story that probably would resonate with a lot of people. Fell into the wrong crowd, did a bunch of stuff that you probably aren't proud of, but now you're here. And you are somebody that cares about your team, that can grow a company, that can think at a high level, all of these things. But the past is actually the prologue to you getting here. It was an important step for you getting here. Do you mind sharing some of your personal development journey over the last, who Branden was 5 years ago versus today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, like growing up, my dad's been building a business, right? And like he was always moving up and leveling up. And, we moved to this new area whenever I was in 8th grade, I think. And I'm like, transferring schools is like not easy.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like, okay, like how do I fit in? Right. It's a totally different like culture, demographic, everything. So I'm just like, okay, first person I find, like I latch on to, start hanging out with them. And then like all of a sudden, like I'm like hanging out at his house and we're like smoking weed with his older brother and like XYZ. And now it's just like
The
normalized.
light stuff.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, cool. This is like normalized, right?
Yeah.
As we start to hang out, like his older brother's selling drugs and like doing all that kind of stuff. So I was introduced to that like fairly early. And then I started seeing, right, I've always had like a hustler mindset, right? I've always wanted to make money. I started working for my dad at a very young age and just kind of like really like fell in love with just working and making money. So I saw that this guy was making lots of money doing little to no work. And I'm like, wow, like he's just hustling. Like he's just like basically buying this, reselling this, boom. And like, whenever you're exposed to those things, it's just kind of like normalized, right? He just makes it normal. So I'm like, cool, I'll do this too. So, by the time I was in freshman year, I started selling some weed, I started selling some carts, and really got wrapped into that whole scene. Until probably like 2 years after high school. I did it for like 6 years.
Wow.
And thank God, like never got caught, never got in any serious trouble. I was very smart with it, right? I was very like under the radar. But we did end up like I was smoking weed, I was partying all the time, I was drinking, I was hanging out with people that I really should not have been hanging out with, around like some violence, like really people who I should not have been hanging out with, and got introduced to some other things. And just kind of like was lost for years, right? But I always had like a voice in my head. I know it's crazy to say, everybody always says this stereotypical shit, but it's like, bro, I always had a voice in my head that I'm like, bro, you are like, you're gonna crush it, and like you're gonna be rich, and like you're gonna help a lot of people, and you're gonna have an impact, right? And I was just kind of like, whatever, like ignored it. Like I knew it was there, but like just kind of ignored it and just kept smoking weed, selling drugs, and didn't really hit until like one of my best friends, Bo. We were like best friends in high school, got really, really connected. His mom was like super, super spiritual. And he's like, bro, like I see the path you're on. Like I see what you're doing. Like you're getting introduced to things that you should not be introduced to. And he's like, either do this or like we're not friends anymore, right? And this was like the one person that like knew me, knew what I was doing. Nobody knew what I was doing, right? Like my family didn't know. Most of the stuff I was doing, my girlfriend didn't even know that I was with for like 5 years. And you know, he came to me. He's like, bro, like I know nobody knows, but like if you don't do this meditation and like start to open your mind up to spirituality, like we're not going to be friends anymore. And boom, immediately like was awakened, and I was like, okay, like whatever, this bullshit, like I'll try it. Had an out of body meditation experience. And from that, I had an external perspective onto myself. I stopped looking from my two-dimensional mind and started to kind of open up that third eye, as you will, and see myself from an outside perspective, seeing myself, all the things I was doing, all the selfish things I was doing, the people who I was hurting, the people it was affecting, right? Because it's affecting my relationships because, like, if I'm not high on drugs, like, I have a bad attitude, right? And that's all I want to do, right? I can't be in a place for more than 2 hours because I have to go get high. And that started to then start to kind of wane away as I started to become spiritually fit. And, you know, I did that for a while, and then the practice fell off, right? I stopped practicing being spiritual. I stopped meditating. I stopped praying. I started doing all these things. And then what do you know? I get introduced to it again, right? And kind of fell back into that slope. And addiction can either be the most positive thing in your life or it can be the most negative thing in your life, right? Because once you get that hit of dopamine, that's all that you're focused on, right? And that's the hit that I feel with anything that makes me feel good, right? I'll get addicted to anything, which is crazy, right? I'll get addicted to a clean truck. I'll get addicted to watching a TV show. I'll get addicted to hanging out with a person. No matter what it is, I just have a super addictive mindset. And once I finally, over the course of the years, figured out how do I really ensure that I'm holding myself accountable and I have a support system around me, right, of people that are going to elevate me, of people who are going to hold me accountable, of people who are not going to just be like, hey, bro, like you're doing good. Like, what are you doing, right? Like you're staying up a little bit later than you should. What are you doing, right? Something that some people think is so small, but then like that's the inch that we take, right? Is like, oh, we're just gonna stay up a little bit later tonight, right? Oh, we're gonna hang out with this. I haven't hung out with this friend in a long time. Where that little inch that you get, like once you give that to yourself and you kind of break that promise with yourself, it opens the whole door to everything. And the next thing you know, you're on that slippery slope again.
Absolutely.
Which is exactly what happened to me because I was in the best shape of my life. I would say right around probably like January 2024 or 2023, right? In 2023, mid that year, once the business kind of fizzled out and kind of crashed, I fell down that slippery slope again. And once I did that, then I recouped back 2024. That's whenever I launched the business and really went all in. And now I just like have this system and accountability structure with myself. But it's super easy to fall into that slope, right? So many people deal with that. And it's really just coming to terms with like, hey, you know, this is just a character defect of ourselves that we have to understand, right? Addiction is a character defect. Selfishness, pride, ego, all of these are character defects. And once we actually become conscious of that, which I came conscious of that through God, through spirituality, through my third eye, and also through coaches and mentors, right? Because at the age, whenever I'm doing it, right, I'm just having fun. You know, I'm just having a good time with my friends, you know, getting high, getting drunk, you know, hanging out with people I should be hanging out with, doing dumb stuff. And once I finally became conscious of that, I was able to actually work on that. And once I did personal inventory on myself and figured out all the people who I hurt, all the things that I've done, my fears, right? Which is like stuff we don't want to talk about, right? I'm going to talk about something I'm scared of, right? All the things that I'm scared of, right? And once I finally came to terms with my fears, my flaws, right? Why would I want to pull out my flaws of myself? But those are things that then trigger your character defects, right? So once you're able to do that personal inventory on yourself, which is what I did, then I'm able to take that personal inventory and see and be super conscious of why I have these character defects and now how to come to terms with those flaws, with those fears, come to terms and making amends with the people that I've hurt. Now I'm able to actually work on those character defects and cultivate that. And once I was able to do that, you know, working with coaches, working with mentors, and extracting value from those people. I mean, dude, it would have taken me probably 8 to 10 years to build this shop that we're sitting in right now, this company, this team, the person who I am today. It would have taken me 8 to 10 years if I wouldn't have paid coaches and mentors and found people who were way more ahead of me, help me break limiting beliefs, help me figure out how to cultivate myself, help me figure out, you know, what was the next step in the journey. Because the thing is we've never done this before, right? I've never scaled a business to 250,000. So once I clicked off the box of 100K, right, because I found someone who could get me there, now I'm like, all right, cool. Now who's the next person, right? Now I have to go find that next person, and I'm willing to go pay them 10, 20, 30, probably even $50,000, because if I can pay someone $50,000 to give me the skill and the game plan and the actionable steps to make me an extra $150,000 a month,
3 times over in a
Bro.
month, your initial investment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like, well, why wasn't I able to do that before? Ego, pride. I wanted to do it myself. This is mine, the greed, which is why my last company failed. Like,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't have marketing. I didn't have systems. I didn't have any of that stuff. But it was just pride and ego, like we talked about earlier. Now the abundance that I have in my life, because I'm always trying to give stuff to people. And I've really been trying to tweak it because I still do find myself being selfish at times, right? Because I feel like my time is very valuable. And whenever I feel like there's a low leverage activity or, something that I don't really want to do, right? Like the other day, one of my guys was working on his car in his shop. And it was like Friday night. It was like 7 o'clock. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, right? And it's like, but like, this is somewhere where you can help somebody else and stop thinking about yourself. And once you're able to give that to somebody else and you're able to help somebody else, that fulfilling feeling that you get inside is way better than any amount of money, than any drug, than anything, bro. Like that feeling of being able to help somebody, you didn't ask for money, you didn't ask for anything in return. It was just fully selfless, giving yourself to somebody else. Dude, that's worth more than any money that can buy me anything.
Yeah. And something that we had discussed, I think 2-3 weeks ago, that was a big impact on me is I've always been very intentional with myself, with my business, with the decisions that I am making. And, it has some spillover to people that are in my company and so forth, but definitely some lack of intentionality with my relationships just due to being busy. You value yourself at 100, 200, 300. I value myself at 500 an hour based on all the things that I have going on. It's like, how much time can I afford to give away? And you taught me, you said, dude, a 15-minute phone call with your mom per day will make her day. You ripped a 15-minute FaceTime with your mom on the truck drive over to Myrtle Beach to visit that second shop location. We had a 2-hour car ride. Yo, I have 15 minutes. Let me call mom. I would not have thought to have done something like that a couple of weeks ago. And now you started instilling that into me of how can I be selfless and be intentional with my time in relationships as well that are outside of business? Because it's so easy for us to get consumed in the business mode that we start neglecting those other areas. And that's why I think things like understanding efficiency systems and operations are so important, because if you're grinding yourself into the ground 15 hours per day, it's going to be much harder to what? Give your mom a 15-minute phone call, to maintain a healthy relationship with a woman, to have healthy friendships and to develop your spirituality and speak with God and those things. So it's very important to understand, how do we work most efficiently? How can we be intentional with our time? And how can we start to offload tasks that are not worth our time to somebody else who we can pay for cheaper, so that we can develop ourselves as a rounded lifestyle-based entrepreneur? What the hell are we actually doing here for those watching? We're building 100X Detail, which is a secondary arm of Driven Elite, the coaching program that I've scaled over the past year, specifically focused at getting mobile detailers who are already established, $20,000, $30,000 per month and beyond, into a shop, scaling into that 6-figure per month realm. And that's going to be obviously way more complex than the simple systems that we install in people's businesses in Driven Elite, because that's designed to take detailers that are already making, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, maybe even $10,000 a month, scale them up to 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 with some level of baseline teams, marketing systems, all those things. That's my specialty. But I've never gone beyond $50,000 a month in my own detailing business back home. And that's what you and I are working on. I'm fully transparent online. Every single podcast appearance that I make or time that I talk about how much I make on social media, I'm always open about the fact that, look, I have 3 businesses that I run, right? And 2 of those are online, 1 of them's in person. And I firmly believe in keeping the in-person business, but I'm at a point where that needs to continue growing so that I can continue doing what? Giving value to the people that are investing in me. Because if somebody's going to invest their hard-earned money into me, I need to have next-level information that is constantly going to be able to get them to the next level. And that's why we're here, shadowing your operation over the next 4 or 5 days. Then we're going out to Miami to speak with my business partner, George, to formalize all of these systems so that we can literally replicate your shop procedures into my business back home in Texas, so that I can duplicate that out and we can start scaling some of the existing students that I've worked with as a cohort kind of ecosystemed around me. So walk me through, Branden, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the first 3 months of Elite Pro that really were that catalyst for crossing that $100,000 month? And then let's start to go back and forth on some of the problems that I'm facing right now, and then give me some level of solution for those issues. And then we're going to dive into the live masterclass, which we're doing after this for our paid members.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, delegation's the biggest, right? Because like as entrepreneurs, as these people that we're like, we have it figured all out, we want to control everything. And we think we're always the best person for the job, which is like what we talked about earlier with like task of assigning task elsewhere. And we're talking about like, whenever we have 100 things to do, our mind then becomes spaced, and then we can't even focus on that thing, right? Whenever we actually fully believe that 80% of the results that are produced come from 20% of the activities that we do, then that delegation becomes easy, right? And that's just what I had to cultivate. And I didn't delegate as early as I should have, which is why month 4 that we were open, our revenue shifted $15,000 less in peak season, right? Like in in May, we did 89,000. And then in June, we did 75, right? And why was that? Because I didn't have delegation properly. I didn't know how to properly delegate. I'm trying to manage 85 things whenever I have each guy in the shop doing one thing, whereas if I were to give each guy in the shop 5 things, and then I only have, say, 40 things per se, right? Just an analogy, like now my bandwidth is way more opened up, and now I'm focusing on tasks that actually make sense. So the way that I was able to do that is I was focused on either a 1, 2, 3 list or an ABC list, right? An A list is stuff that only you're able to do, right? Stuff that you're like, dude, this takes a lot of skill. This only I know it, right? Which is going to be stuff like financials, right? Processing payroll, shooting ads, strategic planning for the business, right? Running the financial reports, making sure profit margins are
Owner-only tasks.
Owner-only tasks.
Owner-only. Yeah.
And then B is like owner only, and then maybe someone can delegate, right?
If you found somebody that was exceptionally talented.
Yep. 50-50. And then you have C, which is like easy. My little brother can do it, right?
Yeah.
So once I did that, then I was able to easily delegate and empowering my people, right? Because whenever you delegate to your people, that shows like, oh, like he trusts me. Like he trusts me to do these tasks. Like these are tasks outside of me just washing a car, right? Maybe I'm having someone taking a drop off, or I'm having someone upsell a car, right? I'm giving them more responsibility, which is then empowering them, making them feel good and actually feel like they're now more contributing. Number 2 would be managing finances, right? That was pretty crazy early on. Was like whenever we opened up, money just started ripping in, right? Like the first month.
It's very easy to let it slip through the cracks.
Yeah. For me to get, 36 months into my first detailing business, and for us to make 22,000, and within 30 days we did 24,000, the most I've ever done in a month in 30 days. And I'm like, we just opened doors like 30 days ago, and now we're doing what I did in 36 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is just where we picked off, right? Maybe next month, like, we'll do more. Of course, I wanted to make 100 grand the next month, but I'm like, we'll probably do maybe like 45 or whatever.
Right. Marginal growth.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe a little bit less. Next month, 54,000. And I'm like, bro, like we have so much cash, right? And I'm like, okay, we got to get a shop. We got to do this. Like we have so many leads coming in the pipeline. I'm still doing all the sales activities. And that was just a big thing that I had to figure out of like, okay, because whenever you don't have financial reports going on within your business, which is so crucial, you have to have the right systems, the right softwares to be able to manage those reports, and to know how to read the reports, right? It's one thing to have a report in front of you, but if you don't know how to read it and know where your cash is going in and cash is going out, then you're going to be losing money all over the place. And why are we running a business? To profit and make money. And then I would say third would be, building out the team. Like actually finding people who can contribute, and actually finding people who care, and then being able to develop people, right? It's hard to get people, but it's even harder to retain them, right? Because it's like with anything new, right? Even let's say an analogy of buying a car, right? It's fun, it's great, it's awesome. 60 days later, you don't care, right? You're just like, meh, it's a cool car, right? It's the same thing with a job. You start a job like, man, this place is new, this place is cool, XYZ. Now it's this mundane
Routine.
thing. Boom.
Part of life.
You just
not
show
exciting.
up at 8,
Yeah.
leave it at 5, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep that excitement going within your people, and also allow them know that they're not just this hamster on the wheel, right? There's this person on a mountain, and we're climbing this mountain together.
Yeah.
Right? They're not alone. I'm not alone. I am, of course, leader of the pack, right, on this mountain, and I'm bringing everyone up with me and developing everyone and coaching everyone, motivating everyone. Those are the three toughest things: is delegating, building the team, and then finances.
And on the delegation portion, I think my biggest mindset shift this morning, before even 10 a.m., we were here, was, oh my gosh, there's more to delegation than just getting somebody else to wash cars. Because that's an easy concept for a owner, operator, detailer to understand. Hey, washing cars, that can be worth $20 an hour. I'm worth $100 an hour as a business owner. Let me go ahead and push that off. But what I saw, like I said earlier, was this dude, Branden, just handed off a bunch of system building tasks over to somebody that he's paying $12 an hour in the Philippines to do. And that $12 an hour in the Philippines is an $80,000 a year salary here. So your money actually goes further when you're outsourcing to somebody overseas that's exceptionally talented, speaks English, all of these things. Like, one of the things that has been in my back pocket for the last 2 months is I've got all this video content recorded for my guys. I have our systems in place for how we detail a car, but I don't have it formalized in a very simple, easy to understand training manual, step by step and so forth. And my initial thought was, I have to put that together. Bro, I can probably pay somebody $7 an hour to do that. And I realized that this morning. I'm like, that could be a 40-hour full work week of me building that system, or I could record a 10-minute Loom video, build out an email with instructions, and send it to a trusted VA that I can work with.
And you also notice, like, what was his attitude like on the call?
Dude, he was excited about the work that you were giving him, because you're giving an exceptional opportunity to somebody overseas where that money is going to stretch much farther. That's the concept of leverage. How can you use the resources that you have to the fullest potential, but not only in a self-seeking way, in a way that serves others? And he was telling us, Branden, I watched all this course material, helped build it together, and I showed my family this. They thought it was dope. This dude is telling his family about the project that he's putting together for some dude in the US that he's probably never going to meet in person. And he's saying, bro, my family thought this was sick. They were giving me feedback on this. And he was absolutely stoked about the project that you had him on. And that would take you 40 hours to do. You freed up 40 hours, which can then be used on higher leverage business tasks and cultivating a lifestyle of abundance. Because ultimately, there's 4 things that lead to abundance: health, wealth, love, and happiness. Ty Lopez says those things. Whatever you say about Ty Lopez, that's a really fundamental concept of becoming a lifestyle entrepreneur, right? You can't just have wealth, because if you were given $1 billion today and you can't get out of bed because you have terminal cancer, is that going to sound like a fun life for you? Absolutely not. $1 billion, maybe you're in good shape, but you absolutely cannot find love. You screw up every relationship that you have. Your friends hate you. You really can't cultivate any level of connection with a human being beyond just transactional. Your life is going to be miserable. So how can you begin to outsource things in such a way that are going to allow you to live a more abundant, rounded life? And that's what I think I'm learning that's massive from you. And I'm 18, bro. I can rip up till 2 a.m., wake up at 5:30 the next day. Yeah, I'm not going to feel great, but I can caffeinate myself to the moon, and I can thrive for like 2-3 days, then I'll burn out and crash. So I can push myself that way, but that is not sustainable. And not everybody starts at 18. Some people start at 30. Some people start at 40. And that's not really that late, because if you start at 40, the average time that it takes for somebody to become a millionaire with a successful business is 12 years. Do you know that? 12 years. So if you start at 40, you might be a millionaire by 52. That's really stinking young to be a millionaire. That's a good amount of money to have at 52. So if you're starting much later in the game and you can't push yourself like a college-age kid that can just completely destroy his body for the sake of money and somehow still have a six-pack, you need to focus on leverage. And if you are in my situation, bro, don't destroy your body. Don't do it. It'll catch up with you later. That's why I'm playing catch up now, and I've spent a total of $18,000 on fitness coaching over the past 6 months. I got my fitness coach who trains me, helps me with diet, and then I have somebody optimizing my productivity, sleep, etc. that I just signed on with literally 2 days ago before I came to Charleston.
I mean, the biggest reason that it dials down to is like, why do you feel the need to work till 2 a.m.? Because you have those 1,000 tasks.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm not getting enough done in my 8 hours, in my 10 hours.
Exactly.
And I feel like I fell into this mentality, dude, of hustle culture being the way. Because you'll see people on Instagram, like friends of mine, some of my Miami influencer friends, right? They'll post like on a holiday, a picture on their story. Bro, locked in. Why are you out hanging out? I'm locked in. I'm winning. You're not living life. There's a difference between choosing to be productive versus having self-destructive habits. So yes, it's going to be better for you to be at home, working, building your business, going to sleep at a reasonable hour on St. Patrick's Day than out drinking with your friends. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day, somebody's birthday? Absolutely not. That should be about building human connection and having a well-rounded life. As long as you're not engaging in self-destructive habits, going out smoking weed with your friends, drinking, staying up till 2 a.m., whatever the case may be, there is no benefit to locking in, bro, if you're going to sacrifice your overall longevity in your health, your love, your happiness, if it's just in pursuit of wealth. So yeah, I mean, like, dude, I'll wake up at 6 a.m., crush my morning routine, get off to the office, work, do all the things for the detailing day, and then go, bro, I've got so much shit I have to do on the computer. I've got 3 hours of mentorship calls. I'm up. It's now 10 p.m. and I'm getting the juices flowing with more ideas. Oh my gosh, let me just cram in some more work. 2 a.m., I go to sleep, 4 hours of sleep, feel terrible the next day. And that has a lot of problems. Like, I will notice that I am more irritable and I am more paranoid when I don't have enough sleep. The smallest thing that my girlfriend can say, like, we have an incredible relationship, nothing wrong. Something small, I'll overthink it if I'm on 3 hours of sleep. And I'll just feel terrible about the relationship all day for literally no reason, no argument, just like one thing. I don't feel that way when I am properly taking care of myself. I can get into arguments with my family more often if I'm not taking care of myself. So I think understanding delegation, not just as a way to pursue more money, but as a way to pursue a more rounded lifestyle is absolutely crucial. And I'm really thankful that I'm starting to learn that lesson now instead of when I'm 25, 30, all of those years in. So
that's amazing. I mean, and I think like I'm excited to be able to help show you that. Like literally, like I'm so pumped you came here because like, yeah, like telling somebody is great, you know, I think that's amazing. But like behind the scenes, actually seeing it is like totally different, you know? And I think you coming here and seeing that like that 45 minutes we spent, like 30 minutes with my operations, right? For him to manage all the back end of the business. Bro, I literally would hop on a call with him. He would record the call. I would say, you know, we'd go through SOPs, right? And he'd say, for this SOP, what do you want built out? And I go through 90 seconds of spieling out, this is what we need in it, this is what we need in it, this is why we need it, this is how we need it, this is who we need it for, XYZ. And we'd do that, and we'd do like a 30-minute call every day, and we'd build 5 SOPs a day.
Your bullet points turn into 5 hours worth of work, but not your 5 hours, your 90 seconds of bullet points.
And the thing is it wouldn't be our 5 hours, right? Because it would be 10 hours, because the time it takes us, we get on task, we get off task.
Because we have so many things pulling us in different directions.
Exactly.
Customer calls, employees having a problem, mom's got something coming up, whatever the case may be, you get pulled away. I have a detailing client that used to tell me, he's like, I hate it when you call me. What do you mean you hate it when you call me? This dude's like 43, sold a construction company for $200 million in his late 30s, retired-ish, but invests, like hedge fund manager kind of deal is what he does now. And he's like, I hate it when you call me and give me updates on my detail. Why? And he's like, because that phone call is going to take me out of flow state. It may be a 3-minute phone call, but Hudson, you just cost me 15 minutes of my time because it's going to take me another 12 minutes to get back on track. He said, what I want you to do is when you're done, text me. My phone's on Do Not Disturb. Leave the keys in the center console. If I need anything else, I'll text you later. You already have my card on file. Go ahead and ring it up. That customer we serviced for almost 2 years, every 2 weeks for 2 of his vehicles, spent about $300 a month with us until he moved away somewhere else. So it's understanding the mentality of who are these people that have the money I want, that have the life that I want, and how do they operate? This dude was in shape. He was very wealthy, and he seemed like he had a lot of good business relationships, and it seemed like his marriage was going well. Not that I knew him on a super personal level, went to lunch a couple times, but it seemed like the dude was overall happy. What habits can I take from just observing that client? And like when we talk about the concept of mentorship and pulling things from others that are farther ahead of us, the absolute biggest leverage point with being in the detailing game is, bro, you can just have a client roll in with a stupid nice car. How can you provide as much value to them as possible that they start to like you over the course of time that you can start learning from them? You don't even have to go drop 10 grand on a mentorship program, 5 grand on a mentorship program. You don't have to do any of these crazy extreme things. Not really that extreme. It's common sense. But You don't have to do anything like that if you can just cultivate a relationship over time based on you providing above and beyond what they're paying you for. And then now you have a client for life, and you have somebody that you could say, hey, you know what? Next detail's on me. Let's go to lunch. 30 minutes. I want to pick your brain. I can't tell you how far I got from just having 3 crucial maintenance customers that were on my monthly plan that I would take out to lunch once a quarter. I'd give them a free detail once a quarter, go to lunch, go to breakfast. One of those customers is actually now paying me for coaching. And she might see this. She's an influencer, has a fitness coaching offer that started to slump over time, not doing as well, saw my coaching offer absolutely take off, said, let's go to lunch. I want to pay you for your time to show me what you're doing to scale your coaching offer. And now that customer is not just a customer of mine for regular detailing. We are exchanging value on a month-to-month basis, both monetary and then also with what's working in either of our businesses with the online side of things, because we're able to collaborate and bounce those ideas.
What's like the main bottlenecks do you feel like right now, like you're struggling with within the business? Like what's keeping you capped out at the number that you're at per month?
Dude, it is literally what we just talked about, which is consistency, because consistency compounds and so does inconsistency. So when I have 1,000 tasks on my to-do list, I am inconsistent with the simple steps that move the needle forward. What moves the needle forward for a detailing business? Well, showing up on time, making sure your boys are dialed in, they're trained, they're doing the job they're supposed to do, they're running through their checklist, they're doing their SOPs, you're making sure your customers are leaving reviews, you're checking for satisfaction, you're getting on the job and you're upselling. Like today I watched you. What did you close that dude on? He came to go check out his G-Wagon, which we have right here, and then you sold him on what for the Porsche?
Full front nose PPF and ceramic coating.
How much?
$3,500.
$3,500. Okay, that's a big example. On my end, we're not doing PPF right now, but it's very easy for me to show up to a job and add another $150, $200 for whether it be an extraction, a shampoo, an ozone treatment, because there's some level of smell. Maybe it's, 5-year-old car, just some general must. You can do those general things to add some additional revenue. And that over time is going to compound into an extra $1,500, $2,000 per week for a smaller company, right? You might be able to add another $10,000 a month to your bottom line just from doing those upsells, because they don't take much additional time. Your guys are already on the job. They can do it. But if you're tired, burnt out, sleeping in because you stayed up till 2 a.m. the last night, because you have a million things on your to-do list, you can't show up and upsell those jobs every single time. Bro, if we've got 9 mobile jobs in the field, 3 for each van, and I'm not showing up to the first 4 because I slept in, because I stayed up super late, that is potentially $400 or $500 that I just missed out on every day. That's $2,500 a week. If we work 5 days, we usually work 6 days, $3K a week. That's $12,000 a month that we just missed out on because Hudson is too stressed out, has too much going on, and he's not doing the consistent, simple steps. Same thing. Bro, you do a 15-minute team meeting with your boys every single morning. I watched that today. You're motivating them, gassing them up, making sure you know, hey, bro, what are your needs? How can we serve you today in this company? How can I make sure that you're taken care of? How did everything go yesterday? Are you excited about today? Do you need water? Can I bring you lunch? Whatever the case may be. If I'm not able to consistently do that small step every day, they're going to be less motivated, not as efficient, might quit, might have problems with customer satisfaction and so forth. Quality might drop. It's those consistent, simple steps across time that build a business. And if you can't show up every single day and do the simple, consistent steps, you're going to have some level of plateau or a potential regression. And that's been the case with me, because I'm burning myself out on all of these things that I think I have to do. But if I can start delegating, building out those systems, and having people in place to do those things for me, I can then focus on the smaller set of things that are going to move the needle forward. Because ultimately, I don't know who said this quote, but I've heard it ages ago and many times since, which is the secret sauce is like ultimately found in the small steps that you're avoiding. What are the small things that you're avoiding in your company, in your day-to-day life? You probably, if you started doing those things, are going to notice a massive increase, because consistency compounds, so does inconsistency. You plant the seed, however much you water it is going to dictate whether it sprouts and then dies, whether it doesn't sprout at all, or whether it sprouts, gets halfway there, doesn't bear fruit yet, or goes all the way, full-grown plant, bears fruit, healthy fruit, ripe, there's your fruit. So it's understanding how can I implement things like that are going to take the pressure off of me so that I can effectively perform every single day for those things. And obviously, you're walking me through all of these systems on the back end, and the whole point that I'm here is to literally see them in action. And then in a couple of months, maybe even 1 month, we're going to be flying out probably about 15, 20 detailers inside of my program out to your shop to literally shadow you for a weekend, just like I'm doing right here. Because like you said earlier, it's going to be a whole lot more effective to actually see it taking place every single day than just hearing it. Because I can say to, the thousands of people that are going to watch this, hey, you need to delegate, you need to systemize, you need to do these things. But until I walked in the door and saw how Branden operates his meetings in the morning, how efficient they are, and how much it allows him to focus on just a few simple key things like closing a dealership, which we're going to go do tomorrow, $15K per month, recurring revenue. You had a $3,500 PPF job that you were able to close today just based on this dude coming here. If you were too tied up doing some random bullshit and you weren't able to show up when he was there to take the keys for his car and check it out, you would have missed out on $3,500. So it's actually seeing how you practice those things in person that have really solidified it to me and showed, okay, this is what that looks like practically. And that is obviously the purpose of what we're doing here, is to do that for myself and then also start building out those systems and SOPs to train other detailers on how to do exactly that. Because what I've mastered is I can get a mobile detailer from $0 to $20,000 a month in 5-6 months. Super easy. What do? We'll run your marketing for you. I've got a marketing team. That's pretty easy. You don't have to worry about finding the wrong person, whatever. We'll do that. Get some basic systems in place. Make sure you can close over the phone. Get some basic automations. Hire a part-time or a full-time employee to take some of that workload off. But ultimately, the skill set that I have to coach and the skill set that I have for my own detailing business is not going to take me to $100,000 a month. I'm not going to be able to take somebody else to $100,000 a month. So what I'm doing is persistently pursuing my fullest potential by seeing, this dude Branden, he knows what he's talking about. Let me see what those systems are looking like, and then how can we formalize them and start replicating that over to other companies. So that's the long-winded answer of saying, my biggest bottleneck is the fact that I'm just inconsistent with the small, simple steps because I'm overwhelmed and not working at my highest capacity.
Yeah, I love that. And even and those things are, like you said, like they're just small actions that are, once you become conscious of that, now it's much easier to solve. And even like what you saw go down today, right? We closed the G-Wagon on a $1,500 ceramic coating, right? Now we closed them on the back end on a $3,500 deal. Now that client value is $5,000, right?
Compared to $1,500.
It's always like, how do we constantly increase our lifetime value of our clients, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, as I want to keep growing and I want to continue growing and I want to have another shop and I want to have another shop and I want to continue growing and scaling, it's like, now I'm working on a bottleneck myself of like, okay, cool. Like, you're right. Like, if I wasn't here today, my mindset, my kind of attitude is like, there's nobody better to sell that than me, right? So now I'm working on actually removing that limiting belief from me to be like, cool, my manager that I have in place here, why haven't I given him that responsibility yet, right? Why isn't he selling that deal? Because he's totally competent and able to do it. I just haven't put him through that, right? And if I were to spend 5 hours training him on doing that and working him through the objection that may come, or working him through the pricing and really getting him dialed in on that front, because he's already amazing with talking to clients. Every single client loves him. That's why he's been promoted as manager. He always goes the extra mile. He always helps all the guys as much as needed, does inventory, does quality checks, does everything, and really manages the shop. But it's like the only thing he's not doing is like selling walk-ins, right? Yeah. Which is like, if we were to do that,
you wouldn't have to be here 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
It's like, and now I'm on the next shop, and that just bought me, because realistically, that took me 5 minutes, right? And I might have that 5 times per week, which is only 25 minutes, but it's like, I have no idea when that's going to come.
Yeah.
Right? And if I'm 2 hours away at the other shop, it's like, how can I be at 2 places at the same time? Whereas I'm working on duplicating myself at that location. So self-duplication is the hardest thing to do. Delegating is not as hard because you can delegate low leverage tasks. But duplicating, bro, it's the hardest skill. It's almost like trying to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
It's tough. And that's what I'm working through right now, which I'm super excited, because I'm like, I have a mentor, I have a coach that's like teaching me on exactly how to do it and the exact framework and ways to do that, which is what I'm so excited to be able to bring the value to the table of, like I said, that's why I'm constantly working on growing. Like, yeah, we have 100x detail, which is going to be cool, but like, what's the next step after that, right? Yeah. Multi-location, 500x detail, right?
500x detail, yeah.
Yeah. So
how can we replicate the service-based systems that worked for detailing into other service-based businesses? Because ultimately, lawn care, roofing, plumbing, etc., all same. Mm-hmm. All same, minus the trade and the skill that you're actually trading for money on the front end. Mm-hmm. All the back end, exactly the same. And that's why I freaking love you, dog, because we are building something that is going to carry us long into the future. It's going to have an impact, and we're going to be able to build something that is going to pay us time and time and time and time again, and we don't have to worry about burning out on the front end and just trading, for initial cash out right now. We were talking earlier today about our boy Tom Cruise from Miami. Actually, I don't know him personally, maybe you do, but the dude that's got all the Section 8 rentals. And I'm like, dude, how much time do you think he spends working every day? And you're like, bro, probably 4 hours. Dude's got, what, a $20 million crib in Miami. He's got however many millions of dollars worth of cars, just bought a Revuelto. What's his yacht worth, 8 mil?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. He's got all of this stuff at, what, 31, 32? And you think the dude only works 4 or 5 hours a day. Because he has probably mastered all of that back-end stuff. And that's why I think conversations like this are so important because, and this is why I started content in the first place, bro. Because every freaking detailer that I see online is, what soap is going to make you more efficient and save you 50 cents a gallon? Or what weird system process on actually washing the car is going to save you 15 minutes and produce, 10% better results? That is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the mindset that makes you into a successful entrepreneur because that's real. Even though it's so corny and there's so many like mindset guru coaches on Instagram, it is real. It is real. It can be overhyped, oversold, but it's real. What spiritual practices, what disciplines can we implement? And what does it actually look like to grow a business and build practical systems that bring you to scale? Because anyone can get on the internet and talk about, this soap, bro, let me tell you about this product that I started using. Let me tell you how much quicker it made us. It made me, I actually saved $3 a gallon instead of 50 cents per gallon. That's the detailing content that I was introduced to when I first started detailing. And yeah, it was like helpful because that dude's making $10,000 a month, which for me was like, crush the limiting belief. I can make more than $2,000 a month, side hustle. More than a side hustle to go wash cars at 17, at 16 when I started initially. Dude, that was huge for me. And then you get to that point, it's like, bro, who do I follow now? I'm making 10 grand a month detailing. Who on earth do I follow now? Who is doing what I want to do and actually communicating it effectively? Bro, you get paid in proportion to the value you provide to the market. So I decided to provide that value to the market. And now collectively, my companies are doing between 70 and a little over 100,000 per month for all the various things that we're doing. And I'm trying by the end of the year to get the detailing to represent 100K per month, to get all of the other things to represent another 100. So we're looking at 200,000 a month by the end of the year. That's my goal because you get paid in proportion to the value you provide to the market. And that value was not there. And that's why we do so well. And that's why there is not a single person that would come against me that actually knows me individually that would say, this dude Hudson doesn't know what he's talking about. Haven't met a single person that I know face to face, which goes back to our initial part of this conversation, which is, you can't have judgment for people. The Bible says you will know them by their fruits. So look at their fruit, then judge. So if you look at me and you say, you know what? This kid's probably not legit. He's probably not making the money he says he's making. Or, his ideas don't work. Bro, test my ideas. Go ahead and be the judge for yourself. Use the scientific method. Go ahead and hypothesize. Say, this guy Hudson doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? Hypothesis is number one. 2, you do what? The experiment. Okay, in order to prove my hypothesis of Hudson doesn't know what he's talking about, I need to do what? Implement what he's talking about. So now you implement what he's talking about, and then you come to your conclusion. And then maybe you have to run a couple more experiments to find more data, but guarantee you when you test the hypothesis, when you experiment, you're going to find that I do know what I'm talking about. And I don't know everything, that's why I'm here with you. But if you're not able to see somebody and say, okay, what are their fruits? Let me go ahead and hypothesize, execute on my hypothesis, do that experiment, you won't know whether they're right, which is why you will never receive hate from somebody that is above. It's always from below. And that's not an egotistical way, but I really have learned if I don't like somebody, bro, I had some little bit of resentment towards you when I first met you because I'm like, bro, I think this dude's involved with people that I don't like. I've seen him, on somebody's Instagram that I don't like. I think this dude's a clown, whatever. Branden doesn't know what he's talking about. Wade said, y'all connect. Wade knew behind the scenes these dudes don't really like each other, but we didn't know each other, which is stupid. And then we get to know each other, start collectively masterminding and collaborating. You came out to our event in Miami. Bro, we're boys. Let's sign a deal. Let's make something happen. And we executed on that quick because you started testing my ideas of, dude, I need to do the social media thing. How do I do my social media thing? And it started working for you. How do I start coaching people? And it started working for you, for the few people that you've worked with. And then I said, you know what? This Branden dude, what does he know about the detailing business that I don't know? Let me start trying those things. I did it, and it works. Branden, appreciate you being here today. We're
course,
going to
bro.
rip the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you in Miami next week for the launch of 100X Detail.
Let's go, dude. Let's get it.